Rocky Mountains. The mere mention of the words conjures up images of towering peaks, clear running streams, and golden autumns with the trees in all of their glory. In northern New Mexico and southern Colorado, the Rocky Mountains are all of these things, but there is also something more, for these mountains have a story to tell, a tale that is over 100 years in the making, the Cumbres and Toltec Scenic Railroad. Morning in Chama, New Mexico finds a number of steam locomotives simmering away, waiting to go to work. Chama is one of the few railroad terminals in North America that is home to a fleet of steam engines. It's hard to find sights and sounds such as these anywhere else. The wisdom of saving the railroad becomes evident every morning as the locomotives are awakened. Steam locomotives have been going about this same ritual here for over 100 years. The first stop for the engines after leaving the back shop is the ash pit, where the previous night's clinkers are dumped out. Once the ashes have been dumped, the locomotive moves up to the double-spouted water tank. The tender holds over 5,000 gallons of water, and it will need every drop to make it up the steep mountain grade. By mid-morning, the passengers are boarding the train. And depending on the size of the train, there will be 1, 2, or even 3 steam locomotives on the point. Like a great ship waiting to sail, the passengers are filled with a sense of anticipation, waiting for the whistle blast that signaled the start of their journey. Our train is stopping at Lobato, New Mexico. Here, the helper locomotive will be uncoupled to cross Lobato Trestle by itself. The load limit for the bridge does not permit two of these locomotives to be on the structure at the same time. Lobato Trestle is 100 feet above Wolf Creek. Once across the bridge, the locomotives recouple, and we are again on our way. Our train has just crossed into Colorado at the Cresco water station. Just before reaching the summit, the train rounds Windy Point, where passengers can see almost all the way back to Chama. An hour after leaving Chama, the train at last attains the summit of Cumbres Pass. At an elevation of 10,015 feet, Cumbres is the highest station on the railroad. Here at Cumbres Pass, a visitor can see several historic buildings, including the section house, car inspector's house, and part of the old snow shed. Although many people focus on the train out of Chama and the climb to Cumbres Pass, many people say the best scenery on the railroad is to be found on the train that departs Antonito. At Antonito, the Cumbres and Toltec maintains a small depot that serves the needs of today's passengers. Although built in an old-time railroad style, it was constructed by the Cumbres and Toltec. Unlike the other end of the railroad, the area around Antonito is arid and flat. Passengers get the distinct feeling that they are departing on a trip straight into the Wild West. Once past Whiplash Curve, the scenery is definitely changing. The sagebrush is giving way to ponderosa pine and aspens. Off to the left, we see Bighorn Peak. Our train has just arrived at Sublet, New Mexico, at an elevation of 9,276 feet. Here, the locomotive's water supply is replenished by the old standpipe. Sublet is an abandoned section camp where track workers and their families once lived. This town site has been completely restored by the Friends of the Cumbres and Toltec. Here we see the difference between 1988 and 1998. We're back at Sublet as our passenger train continues on its way. We're going through the first of two tunnels, called Mud Tunnel due to the fact that the tunnel was dug through soft volcanic ash and mud. This location is known as Phantom Curve. The shadows cast from the locomotive headlights by these rock formations reminded early railroaders of ghosts. One of the highlights of the trip is the passage through Toltec Gorge. The train plunges into Rock Tunnel, then upon exiting, the passengers will immediately look 600 feet down to the Los Pinos River. At Osier, Colorado, the train from Antonito and the train from Chama meet each other and stop for lunch. Osier, at an elevation of 9,637 feet, was another section camp. Here, the old water tank, section house, and depot had been preserved. Just before Cumbres, the railroad makes nearly a complete circle at what is known today as Tanglefoot Curve, or the Cumbres Loop in the old days. This is another elevation gaining trick used by the surveyors in 1880. hour after leaving the station at Cumbres, our train arrives back in Chama. At the other end of the line, the Antonito train is about to call it a day as well.